Hey, what's going on, Podcast Nation? It is Jason Harris here, and thank you for joining me on another episode of BOP, the Business of Parenting podcast, where I get to talk about anything and everything I want to talk about when it comes to parenting, and if you don't like it, you can turn it off. I have the one, the only, the oh-so-famous Mr. Ian Coburn with me. Ian, what's up? How you doing, man?
Hey, how are you doing? Great to
Good, man.
see you doing this new venture. This is awesome.
It's gonna be fun. It's been a while since we jammed, and I remember when we talked last. You have some fun, exciting, and challenging family structures, and so I thought it'd be really cool to kind of bring you on and talk about some stuff. So that'd be kind of a great way, I think, to kind of kick off today's podcast. Is tell us a little bit about yourself and your business, and then of course a bit about your family and how the family's structured, and then we got some great topics, and we'll jump right into them. So
sure, my business is great right now. I do a lot of online learning. I'm creating a lot of online learning for people, and a lot of sales consulting and sales training. So that's going quite well. Actually, a lot of my customers right now, it's really interesting, have me on retainer.
Nice.
And so a fair amount of them pay me a monthly stipend. And most of them haven't done anything with me. I mean, I'm on a call with them every now and then, but they haven't done anything with me, some for 12 or 18 months. So I just sit here and collect money. So it's a nice setup. And then with COVID coming in particular, that helps really drive a lot of e-learning to the next level, because places that were hesitant were like, well, we have no other way to do anything except through e-learning and do training and things. So yeah, it's been going well. And, I guess maybe I don't want to put a positive spin on COVID like that, but more of a, listen, it's not trying to put a positive spin on COVID as much as it's saying that there's always a way. You just have to find it, right? So adapt, or you're in trouble, right? So
I mean, that's definitely a great lesson for parenting, as it is, isn't it? It's like, just adapt or you're going to be in trouble, right? So
we had to with the kids. I mean, one of the first things I did was schedule stuff for them, because when COVID came, suddenly they're out of school, they're all here. Our situation with our kids. So right now our kids are 7, 5, and 2.
Mm-hmm.
So when COVID came, they were 5, 3. I got to do math here. It's tricky. 5, 3, and a baby, like 6 months.
Yeah.
So we were just like, all of a sudden we have a 5-year-old and 3-year-old home. Both my wife and I work full time. We both work from home. I was going out and seeing customers every now and then, and going to speak and whatever, and that all just fizzled out, right? So home all the time. You're like, how am I gonna deal with kids? And that's the first thing I did is we got to schedule this. We got to schedule what the kids are going to do. So at the same time, every day we had Olympics. So for like 20 minutes, they did different events. We came up, the kids and I planned out the events for a whole week ahead of time. So on Sunday, we'd sit down and go, what are the events going to be? We'd sit down and come up, I really like javelin. So we'd come up with some way to do a javelin throw or whatever. And that would be the event. And so then we do it at the same time every day. Now, of course, it's kids, so it doesn't always end up being the same time. But that kind of structure, I actually had them do work. So I would figure out ahead of time. And sometimes you don't have time, so you have to ad-lib it, or things don't work the way you expect them to work. And we were talking a little bit before the show about some technology and how it drives us crazy. And I was talking about my printer, right? My printer sits there 364 days and 23 hours a year and doesn't do anything. And then when I go to print something like a dot to dot or something I want the kids to do, the printer's first thing it says is, conducting maintenance, please don't disturb me. Like, are you freaking kidding me?
It's not ready.
In
a lot of cases, our kids are like printers. I'm going to say that, right? Like, it's like all of a sudden we just expect them to work. It's like, well, we're just going to go to that restaurant and we're just going to sit down quietly and eat. So I just need you to work. We haven't done it for a long time. But, when we go to do it, and you know how it is, man. It doesn't always work out that way.
You're going to restaurants? Good for you. We stopped that. We had to give up on that. No, that's a great point, because it happens so often with your kids where you're like, I can't believe that when school started up again, or bedtime, right? Bedtime's a great example. You go to bed every night, and yet you're not. There's always an argument. How are you not ready to go to bed? How are you not? We do this every night. We have a kid. One of our kids, our 5-year-old, is he's got, we suspect ADD. He's actually in speech therapy. Even the speech therapist has said, have you ever had it tested? Or I'm thinking about it. But he's the only person I've ever met in my entire life that while he's putting his socks on, he can actually lose a sock while he's putting them on. So, so every day for him, it's just, you're just like, come on, we got to go. And he's always shocked. I didn't get enough playtime. I didn't what? I have to go to school today. And you're like, oh my gosh, and you just gotta, you can schedule the hell out of it and have it all laid out, but you still have to be willing to go, okay. He doesn't get it.
You gotta let them be kids, right? But I actually, look, I love the fact that you're bringing this up, because I think for parents, this is probably one of the most difficult things to balance, right? Is the balance between structure and just allowing them to be kids and encouraging creative play. It's like, one hand, it's like, I think society normally almost tells us we need to treat them like, little adults, and, we need to structure their lives in that way. And then, then I think there's probably the other hand out there that's like, no, they need to be kids. They need to be free to explore, and you need to encourage creative play. And it's like, okay, but then there's no structure. So it's like, how do you balance these two out, right? Like,
I'm not big on experts. I mean, a quick background. You may recall that years ago, I wrote a dating book about reliving my experiences with women as a touring comedian, right?
I remember you saying this, yes.
I did that. Yeah, it's called God is Woman, Dating Disasters. And so it came out like 2007. But the point is that, I wasn't an expert, right? I was just this guy sharing my stories. I ended up becoming an expert for Lifetime TV's website and answering women's questions. It became like a dating Bible. It was really interesting to see what happened with it. But the point is that there were all these PhDs and all these other experts competing for that Lifetime job, and I got it. And and they wanted a man and a woman, and the woman who got it was not a PhD either. And the reality is that it's because we're out in the battlefield, and everything they were doing was in an office and in this very stale environment and just not realistic, right? So you hear a couple things that experts on parenting drive me crazy with. First and foremost is the whole, well, make sure you have enough time for your partner, make sure you're expressing love with your partner, you're doing all this. And they seem to miss the whole thing that when you're taking care of your kids, you are doing that. The kids are your love, right? You've taken your love, you've turned it into something physical that you're now unleashing on the world to wreak havoc. And taking care of it is, you can't lose sight of that. It's kind of like the experts go, well, you have your kids and you have your spouse or your partner, whoever it is, and you have to manage it all. And you go, no, they mingle, they co-mingle. This is part of this. And then the other thing is we seem to get it in our head that the schedule is for the kids. The scheduling is never for the kids. It's for us. It's for our sanity. And the people think, well, we're going to teach our kids how to schedule. No, you're not. Because as soon as you stop the schedule, if you go, we're going to schedule them for 4 months straight. They're going to do this rigidly 4 months straight. As soon as you stop, 90% chances the kids are going to completely stop and do whatever. They haven't learned. They're not going to learn at my kids' ages anyway, 7, 5, and 2. Now, there's one caveat for that. Our oldest kid is high-level autistic, high-level functioning autistic. So they used to call it Asperger's until somebody said, maybe we shouldn't name this after a Nazi. I don't know. Maybe that's not a good idea. No. Hitler Coke. I mean, yeah, maybe not a good idea. So they said, we're going to call it high-level autism. So Elon Musk, for example, supposedly falls into that category. And so for him, he will follow a schedule. He'll remind you of the schedule. He likes scheduling, but it's the opposite for him. You have to let him know. If for some reason you're going to change anything, he's got to know in advance. And that can make it tricky because things happen in our lives where, for example, my mom a couple months ago broke her ankle. And suddenly I have to drive out to Ohio. I live in the Chicago area, so I had to drive out to Ohio. It's about 4.5 hour drive. I'm going to be gone for a couple days, dealing with this, helping out. And then I'm going to go back and forth a little bit. She's got to have surgery, all this stuff. Oh my goodness. Once we were able to set up the calendar, so to speak, and the schedule for him, he was fine. But that first moment when I'm not taking you to school this morning because I have to drive to Ohio, he's bawling.
Man. That's a monster change. And, it's funny. It's like, It's funny. We look at kids, with or without, special needs, and we almost kind of expect them just to embrace, change like that. But when us as adults in our business life, we don't embrace change like that. We'll do the same damn thing. All right, we're gonna pout, scream, and cry about it, because it's just like we just don't want to do that. And I find it's like, but that's a great strategy. How you kind of, tactically kind of move into, what a schedule is, and schedule, I think really and I agree with you, right? I think schedule is more about routine, and but it's tough. It's tough. We have to balance out this place where we can let kids be creative, but then at the same time, maintain that routine. And then for your oldest, he needs that routine. That's his happy place, as long as he knows what's coming, right? But it's setting. I think what it is I think as parents we don't necessarily do a great job, and we don't do this in business a great job either of letting people know what is to come and prepare. There's not this preparation. It's like we treat it like a light switch, like one day we're doing this and they're off. We're gonna do this now, right? And nobody embraces that well, don't you find?
Well, we talk about that. It's interesting because we talk about that with when I was on your sales and consulting podcast, and we talk about it with again the other book, Customers Never Right. Set the expectation, and so many times we don't do that in business, right? We don't. No. We've made a change. We have this product right now. You see a lot with supply chain. Well, this product is going to be late, and we know it, but we don't take the time to alert the customer. How do you not do that? It's amazing how often you see it. I'm always say set the expectation with your customers, with the team you manage, with your manager. Set those and we don't do it. It's the same thing with your kids. You've got to set the expectation. If it changes, okay, and that's going to happen sometime. But you got to set it as much as possible. And a great example, and set it like a kid. Think from like a kid's perspective. I found this to be helpful. Right? We all forget. We think we remember, but we forget what it's like to be a kid. You say like 1 minute, I'll be there in a minute. Well, a minute to a kid is like 3 hours. I mean, it takes forever. And so we've actually scheduled in, for example, we schedule in the fun, so to speak. So schedule the fun. And maybe that doesn't sound fun. Well, that's not fun if you schedule the fun. We're not saying you can't do fun things outside of it, but by scheduling it helps them. So, for example, once a year I do a Lego week. We started this back in like 2019 because July was just a very boring month that year and tends to be. And so we're like, you know what, let's do something different. And so I came up with this Lego week thing. And so they get at the beginning of the week, the first day, and they play with Legos all the time, but this is just a special week where we focus on Legos a lot. And they get a general set for all the kids. So a big set that has all the, 1,000 pieces, whatever, it just has all the generic blocks. And then a couple of days later, they get another set. Now it's individualized. They each get their own set, and it's a set that is, something they're really interested in and tends to be the bigger set so that they have the week to continue putting it together. And then they get 1 or 2 more sets as the week goes on that are smaller. And so it's something they look forward to every year. Mm-hmm. They ask about it every now and then. We do a movie night. Every Thursday night is movie night. It's Thursday is the only day. We're very fortunate. My mother-in-law comes over and watches the kids at like 12:30 most days of the week, but not on Thursdays. And so on Thursdays we do movie night and we eat pizza. So it's always pizza. Each kid gets their own individualized pizza. That's another thing. That's awesome. You got to try things out. Yeah. So many times we used to go, we all have one pizza, and the kids wouldn't eat the pizza. We were the only kids in the world who would not eat pizza. I'm like, are you kidding me? And then we tried out different things, and we went, oh my gosh, they eat tons of pizza. If you get their own little individual pizza, then they're fine. We just get them a little frozen individual pizza, and they just gobble it up. We have to have a couple on spare because a lot of times they'll want a little bit more. But still, if we go back to a big pizza, they won't eat it. So, but we do pizza because it's easy, right? It's an easy cleanup. It's an easy thing. It's so, we think about all these things, and that's why we do movie night on that night. And again, if we change it for some reason, maybe Grammy can't come on Wednesday for some reason, but she can come Thursday. We've got to let, our 5-year-old, whatever, I don't care. It's fine. But our 7-year-old, he's got to know ahead of time. Because if he doesn't know, it's not like he has plans. It's not like he's like, oh, well, Dad, I was going to go play Minecraft. I was going to see my buddy down the street, and I got a business deal going on. I'm going to go buy a bicycle. No, he doesn't have it. It's just that for whatever reason, it takes him away from his comfort zone. He doesn't feel I think it's almost like if you parallel it, he doesn't feel safe. Like you feel safe in your house, right? Like he doesn't feel
100%.
safe if you change the schedule and he doesn't know, if he doesn't know what's going on and what's coming up. And so
And I love the
you
fact
have
that you
to
bring up, I want to
let
go,
him know.
and I love the fact that you bring up the word safe, because I don't think it's actually any different for adults, to be honest with you. I really don't think it is. It's like, you know, those changes, I need to feel safe, you know, with what's coming ahead of us. I'm curious, you know, because I want to go a little bit further down that rabbit hole, because, you know, being a parent is tough. Being a parent with a kid with special needs is it's next level. So I got nothing, you know. It's a difficult, it's a challenge. I imagine that's one you definitely want to step up to, but it's difficult, right? So I'd love, and I think that you have an interesting perspective, because you know you've done sales training for a while. You know, between, you know, coaching and training and giving them direction, you know, do you see some similarities in how
Uh,
you kind of execute these two?
I do. I have to tell you though, I mean, probably even more so going back. I'm very fortunate. You know, I started my career, as you know, as a stand-up comedian. That's what I
Yep,
did for 10 years. And what's interesting about that is I've always had that ability. Then, you know, what makes comedians good is they see things differently. So they just filter things differently, right? This occurs, they filter it, they come out with this joke about it, right? And a way to look at it. And so I do that. But really what it comes down to is again, before you get into all the steps in the process, you have to figure out the culture, right? The mentality. So what's the culture going to be? So the culture here is mentality. And
mm-hmm.
I was really struggling when for until about I don't know, maybe even a year ago. And I still struggle. It's always a struggle. It's always with the kids. It's always something, right?
Of
Um,
course.
but what's helped me a lot is changing my mentality, because I was so focused on I got to get business, I got to make
Mm-hmm.
money, I got to be a provider, right? That was
Well,
it was
that's a
provider,
big
and
part.
provider meant making money, doing the business, doing all that, and it was. Dad, go, no, I can't talk now. Go away.
I know.
Give me 5 minutes. Give me five, and then 25 minutes later, maybe I go talk. Right? Yeah, that was, and I realized my mentality changed. My mentality went, be a father first. So be a father first. So that means I schedule my schedule so that I'm always 95% of the time I can step away for 5-10 minutes if I need to, right?
Of
I can
course.
go, you know what? That's okay. It's okay if I step away and I do this. It's okay if we're with this podcast and I got to step away. That's okay. We make it work. We can edit, right? I mean,
Yes.
it's so that's the mentality, and that's made a huge difference. Not just for my kids, but also for myself. By it's just taking stress off me, and it lets me know this is what you do first. That's the expectation. That's the culture,
Well,
and
it goes
it's
into what
much
we were
easier
talking
for
about
me.
earlier. It's about structuring time, right? And you know, I think, you know, when I started sharing my schedule with my kids and they see how I structure my time, all right, look at kids don't have a concept of time, which I am just absolutely just in love with. I love the fact that they don't necessarily have that structure of time. I mean, but the only structure of time they have is they know when the sun is going down and the street lights are coming up and it's time to come inside, right? But you know, they don't know if they were out there for 15 minutes, if they were out there for 3.5 hours.
And nap time.
Oh, of course, and nap time, of
Yeah,
course.
yeah.
You know, but I think as they get older, I think it's important that they do understand the value of that time. And it's like when we show them, you know, ourselves, like what we do and how we execute our time, I think it's a great example of that. But this kind of goes in, this is a perfect segue kind of into our next topic, where we're talking about, you know, slowing down to service kids as needed, you know. And I say as needed because I do feel like, as I don't know, maybe an industry or maybe just a society in general, you know, we're told that as busy entrepreneurial parents, that, you know, we need to slow down our business so that we can, you know, service our kids. I don't necessarily agree that I think that's the case. And I think, you know, slowing down to service kids as they needed, each of my children are different. So sometimes I got to slow down a lot. Other times I don't have to slow as much, but I'd love to get your thoughts.
Well, I'm gonna put a little twist on that. It's we hear about time management all the time,
Yes.
and um, it's crazy. All the stuff we have out there, people have for their time management, right? They said, well, you should, like if you read the book, The 4 Hour Work Week, so this got some nice little tidbits in there, but so much of it is ridiculous. Like things like answer your emails only at this time of the day, and this time in the morning, and this time in the afternoon. Yeah, good luck. You're going to lose tons of business if you do that, because 16 other people have emailed that customer, or especially for guys like you and me that are trying to win the business a lot of times, right? You waited, they've already signed with somebody. I mean, you can't, and if you're at a regular job and you tell your boss, hey, listen, I don't respond to emails from anyone in the company till after 4 every day, good luck. You're going to be looking for a new job, right? So it's really what it comes down to. I always say time management is, I don't know what's important and valuable to you. What I can tell you is that schedule your time management, high value and low value. High value is activity that generates revenue. Low value is activity that doesn't. It doesn't mean it's less important. It's still very important, generating reports, whatever it is. And it's the same thing. So the kids aren't going to adapt. We have to adapt. So for example, in my life right now, what I'm finding happening is I'll do all the work I do during the day, and I focus on most of that being connecting with customers somehow, some shape, fashion, or way, right?
Sure.
And then what happens is then I'm doing more stuff with the kids. After like 3:30, it's more stuff with the kids every day. Sometimes after 4:30, right? Whatever that looks like. And when my mother-in-law's here, which is a lot of days, I can go up to 5 if I need to, right? So it depends on what's going on. But a lot of times after 3:30, I'm with the kids, hanging out, doing some stuff. Fine. Then what happens is bedtime starts at 7:30, ends about 8:30. I come downstairs, I fall asleep on the sofa. And because I don't mean to. I'm like, I got all this work to do, I'm gonna get it done. I don't. I fall asleep on the sofa. I wake up every now and then, but I don't have enough energy till about 12:30. I get up and I work on stuff till 2:30 in the morning. And that slot, I get a ton of stuff done. And that's all my low value activity, rather.
Yes.
Because I'm not going to contact clients then, right? So I get all this report stuff, all this, whatever it is, I get a ton of it done then. I'm working on a kid's book right now, so I'll do editing then. I'll do, so whatever it is, that's when I do it. And then about 2:30, I'm like, okay, I'm ready to go to bed. I go to bed and we start it over the next day. And these patterns change, right? Every now and then it changes up. But right now, that's where I'm at. That's the schedule. That's how it's going. And so we, again, if you parallel to business, we as the owners, the directors of the organization, the department, whatever it is, we have to be willing to change our schedule to meet the needs of our staff.
Yes,
so
there we go. That's
all I'm really doing, right? And I don't have a staff per se, but I got kids, so that's the staff.
Well, but it's true though. I mean, there's a reason why we're calling this business of parenting, because I honestly do believe that it's a business, and there's just so many facets to it that have to be managed like that. But you're right though. Like, I mean, we do have to structure our time. I'm very similar to the way I kind of structure my time. My kind of low hours is I get up at like 5 a.m., 5:30, right? Okay. And so I'll get those like 2.5 hours before nobody wakes up. And so it's the same with me. You're doing it at 12:30, but it's the same thing, right? We have to have those couple hours to just get all those like little boom, 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 boom little things, right? Getting all those little things done, right? I structure playtime similar to the way that you do as well. Like, I have to be intentional with my time, so I will structure playtime. It is great. I love doing it with my phone. I truly do, because I can actually schedule it in the phone, and then do not disturb kicks in. So I get no text. Nice. See, there's the hack for me, right? Yeah. And I imagine you would be exactly the same, right? Like, so no calls, no text messages, no notifications during the 6 to 8 o'clock hour where it's kid time for me. So that's great. But then to your point though, like, we do need to be able to pivot where our business needs us, or if our clients, our kids need us. It's like I posted that thing on social recently where my daughter, she's 11, she has access to my calendar. So she went in and she scheduled Stranger Things marathon for us. This Friday between 4 and 7 o'clock. She even put in the notes that we're ordering Vito's Pizza, thin crust pepperoni with the wings, right? Like, she's like, but she was just, I love the fact, because, as a client, what she's doing is she's telling me, I need this from you. I need this little more extra time, in this particular, just because for me to feel connected, this is what I need. And I think that's what it is. I think when we're talking about this topic of slowing down to service our kids' needs, is that we need to find. Now, look, I found a weird one. Okay, I'm not gonna lie, it sounds weird that I give my kids access to my calendar and I let them schedule
I think it's great.
additional stuff
I
for
want
me.
to do that, but my kids aren't old enough for that.
No,
When they get
no,
older,
yeah,
that'd be,
exactly, exactly.
yeah.
But it's a perfect example at your age, your kids' age. So you have to be really aware. And I wasn't, man. I'll tell you right now, Ian. One of my kids were your age, and I still have, like, mine's 11, 8, or sorry, 11, yeah, 11, 8, and 7, right? But when
Okay,
they
so
were
seven, yeah.
when they were 5 or 6 or 7, like I wasn't self aware when they needed that because they wouldn't be able to tell me. Now my daughter's
Right.
11. She can tell me, Dad, I need you Friday between 4 p.m. and 11 p.m. and we're gonna watch Stranger Things together. I need that from you, right? But I tell you, it's tough to do it with kids younger at that younger age. I'd love to kind of get your thoughts of just like how can we identify the times that we need to slow down to service our kids' needs.
You got to pay attention. And one nice thing about working from home is it's so easy. You pop
Mm-hmm.
up there every now and then. You see, and again, we have the events. You can hear if they're being loud or noisy or whatever. And they'll come to you like, Dad, I want to, I want to do this right now. I'm interested in this. And you figure like, it'll come down. Oh, Dad, can we build this robot now? Can we do? Oh, I can't really do it now, but we can. Let's schedule something. Let's
Yes.
let's say
Yes.
that I finish this at this time. So we do that. Ad lib. But as we're talking about this, one thing that pops into my mind, and again, it's something, this is a real challenge for us as adults. This is a real challenge. Kids screw up and we have the surprise, right?
Yeah.
This just happened
Yes.
to us the other night, my wife and I. We had it was nighttime, it was bedtime. She's getting ready to put my daughter down, or our daughter, I should say, our daughter down. And we're both in the basement and and she's getting ready to go up and do this. And my our 5-year-old comes downstairs and he's covered in milk. I should send you a picture of it so you can see it. I will do that. But he went in the fridge. He went to grab his cup of milk that was in the fridge. It was up too high, even though we've told him a million times, ask for help. He didn't. He's very reliant, independent. It fell on his head.
Oh,
So now there's milk
no.
everywhere.
No.
It's all over his face. And now he's walked down to the basement and left this trail of milk. So we're like, oh, man. So now we got to stop everything we're doing and clean up this milk. It doesn't matter what else is going on. This suddenly has to happen. And as parents, it's so easy for us to get mad because our schedule has been thrown off. Like, I can't believe you did that. I can't do it. You gotta build that into your scheduling, meaning that, okay, you step away here. Whatever it is, tag team, again, we're both there. We're both part of his life. So we have that ability to tag team. And that's what we did. I tend to be the one who's going to blow the fuse faster and harder. So my wife gave me that chance. She went with him and went upstairs and she dealt with him for a couple minutes while I was down here going, are you kidding me? Oh my God.
You gotta clean it up.
And then I go upstairs and the first thing she asked me to do is take photos of just how bad it is. And then she goes downstairs for a couple minutes and does whatever little venting she needs to do. She comes back up. I'm in a good place because she doesn't trust me to clean up as well as she's going to clean up. So I didn't have to do too much. But now I have to, take care of our daughter who doesn't want to do anything with me at that time. This is mommy time for bed. So she's screaming. She's having a fit. I'm trying to find things to do with her, corral her up. And so it gets crazy sometimes. And again, that's something, it's so easy as we talk about this to go, well, this, and this. And again, that's why I think experts drive me nuts because everything is always so black and white and then this box. And then, if this doesn't work, talk to your child about this. It's not going to work. My daughter is screaming. She's upset. She's used to having mommy at this time. She's 2 years old. If you change that on her, she's going to be upset. It's okay if she's upset.
Anybody would be,
I just got to accept it.
It is. But though, I love the fact that you brought up that story with you and your wife. And, I think in business, when I think, I have very key individuals in my business, maybe my right-hand person, my left-hand person. I have support teams, right? And look, I'm self-aware, to know that there are just certain things I am not overly great at. I've been working on becoming more, let's call it, emotionally intelligent. We're in the automotive industry. That was not something I was ever taught to be, and it was just,
No.
you know, it was just, look, we're an industry of, you know, suck it up, buttercup, checking out the door, just get your shit done and let's move on, right?
Yeah.
Like, and so like, and because of that, I've had to rely on some key people in my business to be my emotional intelligence, because I understand that I'm getting better. 100% I'm getting better, but not there. But that goes back to your story. It's like, having those partners in the business is incredibly important thing, and that's what all businesses need. If it's parenting or if it's your actual business, it's like you need to be self-aware enough to know what your where your weaknesses and your strengths are, and you balance those things out, man. And look, I know we're getting towards the end of our time today, and I'm confident that we could probably go for a whole other hour just on some of these topics, but I'll have to do this again sometime. But before I let you go, though, today, Ian, for everybody out there that's watching and listening right now, and for those who may want to connect with you and just kind of follow along with your journey, man, what's the easiest way to connect with you?
Email Ian Coburn, just IANCOBURN at hotmail.com. You can also reach me my business one, which is Ian, IAN, at GPAtrain.com. So Gary Post Atlantic Train.com. And then, of course, find me on LinkedIn. Just if you search Ian Coburn GPA, it will come up. I come up pretty easily. So I'm not hard to reach. So feel free to reach out to me and talk about this or anything else, business, whatever. I'm always available. I go back to that book again. A quick story: the scariest moment I ever had in my life, and I got through this, so I could get through. I could talk to you about anything. When I wrote that book, I was surprised how many kids. This is the book about the dating, and it's very visual. Like, you'll know more about me than you ever want to know. We'll leave it that way. I mean, it's an R book, right? R-rated book. And I had how many young kids read it? I had a 12-year-old reach out to me.
Wow.
And ask me if she thought she and her friends should stuff their bras. And I'm like, am I on one of these catch a predator things, or is this? So it all worked out. At the end of the day, I told her, she's like, my mom said, just be yourself. And I told her, my advice was, well, listen, I don't own Kleenex, first of all, so I don't care. So, if I ever own Kleenex, I might have a different answer. But really, what my advice is what I've learned is that the sooner you learn to deal with who you are and what you have, the better off you are. So if you get older and you don't need to stuff anymore, great. That's what you want to be, that's fine. But if you stuff now and you never get to a place where you don't need to stuff, you're not going to know how to deal with it. And so I said the same thing as her mom, be yourself. She came back with, oh, that's great. See, so much better advice than my mom. I said the same thing. It's just that, again, when we're dealing with kids, we have to think from the kid's side and frame it differently. So that's another good example of framing it differently, thinking about 100%. The kid, thinking about the customer, what they need.
You got to put yourself in their
yeah.
shoes, man.
You can reach out to me about anything, but that was the craziest. I was like, oh my God.
Hey, Ian, man, thank you so much for taking the time to jam with me today. This has been a lot of fun. You have yourself an amazing day.
Thank you. You too, man.